Yo, what is going on YouTube? I hope you guys are doing fantastic today. Today, we're back with, let's learn how to build. I don't know, I don't have a name for the series, but we're just going to learn how to build. And today's going to be Mage Day. Last Monday, I did ADCs. If you missed that one, well, ADC/Hunters. If you missed that one, click up here. Mario's doing his job correctly. It should be right here. Probably not. That guy stinks. Mages today. We're going to be going through all the mages items and just talking about how viable it is. What does it need to be viable? And should you build it? And if you should build it, where do you build it in the build? All right, well, we'll go through the rings also, and we'll talk about like Olo, Freya, Soul specific items, because these three items are those three gods, and then Kronos a little bit. Griffin Wings, I'm still going to say this is a really bad item. Never ever buy it until they buff the actual DPS output of this item. As is, it's just a nice little stat stick, but at the end of the day, you need to increase your DPS, so it's just not good. Telken, the exact opposite side of the coin, is a very good statted item with very good passive, and it is almost auto-built on every Mage ADC. Olo, Soul, Freya, Kronos, if he wasn't terrible, would be building this item. It's very good. It's the best first item power spike you can get. Some gods maybe you want to go, well, Freya sometimes wants to go hastened first item because of how strong her 1v1 is, and she can force 1v1s a little bit easier with hasten, but Telken's the end-all be-all first item for all ADCs. Demonic, are you playing a Mage ADC? Are you building pen elsewhere, or do you have a Mage mid so you need to shred protections a little bit more? This is your go-to item. It is a very good second, third slotted item. You never ever go this item first. It spikes pretty badly as the first items because it doesn't increase your DPS until they get protections. But as soon as they start building into protections, this is an item that is a need. Pythag's piece, currently not too great. I think it's almost more of a support item than it is a mid lane item. It is 40 power, 200 health, 8 lifesteal, and 10 cooldown. And then people within 70 units of you, or allies within 70 units of you, get 8% lifesteal, 20 magical power, 6% physical lifesteal, and 15 physical power. So overall to yourself, it is a 60 power, 16% lifesteal, 200 health, 10% cooldown reduction item. It's fine. I think there's just better options at almost all points in the game. Early game, it is not really increasing your DPS, and it's not really giving you that much survivability, like an entire team-oriented item. So most gods aren't going to be wanting this, really. Polynomicon. Do you have an ability that kind of sets up your own auto? If you do, Poly can be very strong. Gods like Scylla can use Poly really well. Kronos is probably one of the best Poly users. Morgan is another really good Poly user. This item gives you the ability to one-shot, and that is kind of what mages are missing a lot of the times until full 6 items. But this item gives you that one-shot potential at 3-4 items. It's not great on gods like Zeus, who are doing team-wide damage, but if you have like a, Scylla root crush combo and then a Poly auto can allow you to one-shot, it's just 3 items. So it really just comes down to, this gives you one person burst, while most other items give you burst onto more people. Spear of Deso, probably one of the best mage items in the game. It is a very good first and second item. It gives you power, flat pen cooldown, and if you get a kill or an assist on an enemy god, all of your non-ultimate cooldowns are reduced by 2 seconds, and your ultimate cooldown is reduced by 6 seconds. This is insane. It is very strong base, just as like an item with power, flat pen, and cooldown, but it's also a really good like snowball item in team fights, where if you get a kill onto somebody using your abilities, they'll be back up, and you can use your abilities then on somebody else, and then if you get a kill there, they'll be back up for the next person, and it's really good for snowballing and kind of giving you penta potential. The difference between this item and Ada's, because they're kind of comparable, is this item just is a good stat stick for mages because they want all these stats against squishies. Hunters don't really care too much about Ada's, but I will say Ada's got a couple buys this weekend in SPL. I still think it is not great, but it was bought a couple times, so maybe keep our eyes on that. But this is the mage video, so let's focus on the mages. Deso, going to be very good for a second item. Soul Gem, not in a good spot right now. This item got nerfed really badly. The damage it does and the healing were both destroyed. It is now one of the worst items in the game. 60 power, 100 health, 8 magical lifesteal, 10% cooldown for 2,400 gold. And then the passive is, at best, slightly below average, and realistically it is probably a horrible passive too. Next up, Kons Coin. This is a percent pen item with power, and the passive is when you get kills, you're getting a coin flip, and you either get HP 5 or movement speed from it. This is a really good early game percent pen option as a, I don't want to say snowball because it's not really snowball, but it does technically increase your strength if you get it early because you get more stacks on it. So technically it's a bit of a snowball item. This is just a good percent pen item when you want to kill tanks and you are either overcapping or you want slightly more utility outside of just percent pen to kill tanks like Obshard gives. This is giving you HP 5 also just at a base level. So it gives you a little bit of survivability, and then it also gives you movement speed for an ability to run away from the enemy dive. Overall, I think this item is still in a really good spot. I think some games you want want Ob Shard, some games you want this, but those are the two options that are usually going back and forth. Last Gasp. I actually think this is in a pretty good spot now. 70 power, 150 health, 200 mana, 15 magical penetration, and after healing an allied god with an ability, you gain 10 magical power per 10% of their missing health for 6 seconds. So say you're playing Raw and your Ares is half health and you toss your heal on him, you'll be getting 50 power because he has half health. So this would be a 120 power item for 6 seconds, and then it will drop back down to 70 power. But the best part about this is the stats on it. Same thing as Deso, 70 power, 15 flat pen. This one is trading out the 10% cooldown and the cooldown reductions from kills, and it's giving you the extra power and a little bit of health and survivability with that and some mana. So a slight trade-off. This was relying on having a heal, though. If you don't have a heal, and not just a self-heal, if you have a heal on an ally, you can use this one. If you don't have a heal for an ally, you can't use this one. But it's fine. It's really just bought on Raw. I don't know any other mage that really makes great use out of it. Maybe if you guys have one below, you can comment down below. And if there's something that's like, yeah, that's someone I forgot, I'll pin it. But I don't think anyone else uses this item well. Divine Rune. Anti-heal. That is the entire item. I don't even want to explain it, make it more complicated than that. Do you need anti-heal? Buy this item. Do you not need anti-heal? Do not buy this item. It is good if you need anti-heal. It is not good if you don't need anti-heal. Reu of Heart. I was bashing this in the last Mage item video, or last time I talked about this one, and somebody kind of opened up my eyes where there's a couple gods that make this item average. Gods like Baron and Eset actually use this item pretty okay because they have the healing item or the healing ability that isn't used a lot, and so it makes that one heal that you actually are getting a lot stronger than it would be with just the Asclepius. So I think Reu of Heart could be okay on them. The downside of the item is I think it's statted pretty poorly. 60 power is pretty low for power. 250 health is fine, but then there's just nothing else here other than slightly more healing on one of your healing abilities. Still a little niche, but I've been building it a little bit, and I think it's fun because just seeing your heal go up by a big amount. And I had like a time where I was building both of these together because they both increase your healing and they stack. And now it's fun. Unfortunately, not all too viable, but fun. And I think that's what matters. It's fine. It's niche. Spear of the Magus. Since this item got nerfed, I think it's kind of fallen out of favor a little bit. I don't think it's very good at all. I think it's statted okay. Power, percent pen, only 10%, some lifesteal, and then whenever you damage an ability or an enemy god with an ability, you mark them for 8 seconds and they take 5% increased damage. 5% increased damage is negligible. Say somebody has 5,000 health and you do 5% more damage to them. That is 200 and something health less that you need to do to them, and that is pretty irrelevant. A lot of times you're just going to be able to get better percent pen options and items that just make more sense than Spear of the Magus. I think it can combo with Typhons, which we'll talk about down later, but other than that, I think it's pretty bad. Sphinx's Bauble. Unless this item gets a complete reworking or a complete change, it is so bad. Don't build it. Book of Thoth, probably the end-all be-all of mage items right now. It is probably the best first option most of the time. A stacking item that gives you power, mana, MP5, and percent pen, or sorry, flat pen. And then it also gives you a percent increase power based on your mana, and it's 7% of that. So this ends up being about 100 and something odd power, mana, MP5, and it also is going to be giving you flat pen. It takes a little bit to ramp up because you need to get the stacks on it for the pen and for the extra power, but as soon as you get it stacked, you're going to feel very, very strong with this item. Bancrofts. It's good on Hades and Anubis and like Olarun maybe. Problem is this item is just all in on lifesteal, and if somebody sees you build this first item, they're just going to build anti-heal right after, and then the strength of your item kind of drops a little bit. The plus side is this item is still 150 power when you're below 40% health. So even if it is not a ton of lifesteal anymore, it's still a lot of power in just one item. But because of that, I think it's really just good on Hades and Anubis. Even I wouldn't build it on like Olarun, but yeah. Obsidian Shard. This is your tank killing option. Do you want to kill the frontliners? This is your item. Build it if you need that. If you don't need to kill the frontliners, or if you're playing to kill the backliners or whatever, do not build this. Warlock Staff. I think it's a little underrated right now. It is a power, health, survivability option. It's also giving you good health. It gives you percent pen, and it also gives you solid power. So at the end of the day, you're going to be getting 110 magical power, and then I think it's 250 health. Yeah, 250 health, 200 mana. It's a good item. It is not great early game. You need to get the stacks online, same as Book. And I think Book is just stronger on the finish stacking. And this one's just a little worse early game because Book gives you the mana to farm up to that full stack. So this one doesn't feel that great. Also, percent pen isn't that great early. So the flat pen is going to feel a lot better from Book. But I think it's still a fine option. And if you're playing something like Bob that can stack very easily, I think Warlocks is sick. Tablet of Destinies. This item has been either one of the worst items in the game or one of the best items in the game. Currently, they've found it into a pretty healthy spot. And this one is very difficult to explain, so if it doesn't make a ton of sense, I'm trying my best, I promise. Every time you hit an enemy with an ability, you get a stack, and that does true damage based on your mana. The more stacks you get, the more your abilities damage will do to the enemy, stacking up to 50. So your first hit onto them will be doing 0.1% of your max mana as true damage to that god. So say it's literally 1 damage. But then the more mana you get and the more stacks you get, so once you get up to 50 stacks and you're at like 3,000 mana, this will be hitting for almost 100 as true damage, which is only mitigatable by mitigation. So this is very strong if you can get it stacked. The problem is it's very hard to stack. It's one of the hardest stacking items in the game, except probably Cloak. But it's still strong if you can get it stacked. It's just very, very weak early game. And so it has like that kind of, is it worth it? Is it not worth it? Right now, it's not all too worth it. But if you're playing like a tank solo lane Opwash and you want just 1 damage item, Tablet is insane. Next up, Gem of Isolation. It's seen better days. Old Gem of Iso had a few gods it was bought on. Anubis, gods like Ares also bought it. Currently, the item is in a pretty bad spot. I don't think anyone ever really buys it. Maybe if you want some shield reduction, it's okay. But the passive is very hard to focus on the person you want to have like the anti-shield on. Say you're playing into an Odin, you want to try to get it onto him. It's hard to consistently get it onto him for the anti-shield. And then it's just this, I mean, it is a strong slow and it lasts for a pretty long time, but it's just awkward as an item. Not terrible, but I don't think it's great. Cyclopean Ring, it is in a pretty bad spot in my opinion. The problem is a lot of Mage ADCs don't have a ton of augmentation for their auto attack, so I think Cyclopean might need to be built some games. A lot of the times though, I think just Rod is just a better item. Rod, or maybe even something like the Mirrodin if you can use it. Because of that, I think Cyclopean has a weakness, but you'll see it built in SPL because it does make your auto attacks just do more damage. And if you like seeing your auto attacks doing more damage, it can be okay, I guess. Rod of Asclepius, it's fine. If you're playing a healer and you want a little bit of extra healing, yeah, it can be good. It's just if the enemy builds anti-heal and you're building this, they're mitigating a lot more of what you're trying to increase. And then you're also building an item with pretty bad stats. Because this item is almost 100% focused on the healing increase. The allied gods within 30 units, that 30 units is so small. Rarely are they going to be getting the 10% increased cooldown reduction. But if you can play with somebody and just have them sit with you, you'll both be getting 10% cooldown. So maybe, but yeah, I don't think Asclepius is that great. Chronos Pendant, a spam ability item. I think it is very, very overbought at a low and mid level, but it can be a good item. And I think some supports will build this. And I think supports have kind of gotten this item ruined for the mid laners. It's statted pretty poorly now. And if you build it, you'll have a lot of abilities, but those abilities will be doing just about nothing because of how kind of low the power is on it. It's not that expensive though, and it allows you to farm a lot early game, so I think it's fine. It is just very, very overbought at a low level. Make sure your build makes sense around it. Don't just go Chronos Pendant into Bancrofts, into Book, because then you're building 3 items that are just almost power items that really give you no actual damage. But if you're building like Chronos Pendant into Deso, Charon's, Reaver, Rod, that's a fine build. Ethereal Saff, very strong item. I think this item is actually underbought right now. This is a 6% maximum health stolen from the target. Maximum health, 6% stolen. So not just a 6% damage off of them, you're adding it also to yourself. It is a little expensive, yes, but there's so much strength in this item. You can toss this into almost any build and it is going to feel great. Ethereal Staff is sick. It is probably one of the best mage items in the game. Hastened Ring. Are you playing Freya? Build this item. Are you not playing Freya? Don't build this item. It's that easy. The stats are so bad, but Freya doesn't care about stats on items because her innate kit is so strong and she just needs the hastened effect. But yeah, playing Freya, build. Not playing Freya, don't build. Staff of Mirrodin comes down to, are you able to make use of the increased damage on your ultimate? If you are, this is an insane item, can almost be permabot. If your ultimate is not made use with the Mirrodin, it is very, very bad. If you are curious about which gods use Mirrodin and which gods don't, I can put something in my Discord or point you guys to something in my Discord or put in the comments or something if that is something that is confusing to you guys and you guys do need to know. But yeah, Mirrodin, fine item if you can make use of it. Reaver, ever since the inception of Smite, Reaver's been one of the most bought mage items in the game and nothing's changing. Are you playing against tanks and you need to kill them? Build Reaver. Are you playing against a bunch of squishies and they don't have any health built? You don't need to build this item. But 99% of Smite games are going to be having OP tanks in them, so build anti-tanks. Build anti-tank items, that's what I mean to say. Typhon's Fang. This item is actually a really good power item if you have other lifesteal bot in your build. So if you're playing something like Hades, Anubis, and you have Bancrofts or Magus, or even something like Pythags, Typhon's gets so much power from it, and it's also 20% pen. It's a sick item. It really increases your power, it increases your healing, and it increases your ability to kill tanks because you're getting magical pen from it. Typhon's Fang is incredible if you're building around lifesteal in your build. Rada Tahuti, this is probably the most power you can get from an item. I know you get more power from Do More when you get more stacks, but Rada Tahuti gives you 15% additional magical power when the target you are hitting is below 60% health. So that is incredible. It is not a great early game item, but the later into the game it goes, the more power this item gets, because the more one-shot potential you'll actually be having from more power, so your power means more. Doom Orb, a really great farming item. It gives you power, movement speed, and it's got pen on it, so when you're looking to farm, it gives you something where you can go like Doom Orb Deso, and you don't have to worry about as much pen in the early portion of the game because this has pen. I think this item is still insane. The downside is it's very expensive, $28.50, but it is worth it. If you get ahead with this item and you have it finished early in the game, you'll be able to snowball the game very easily, and this item looks sick. I'll talk about a couple defense items just because they are built a little bit. Breastplate of Valor, if you're getting dove by a bunch of assassins, Breastplate of Valor has a lot of value. Make sure you're not building this with another high cooldown item. So don't go like Sands, Chronos Pendant, and Breastplate of Valor because then you're overcapping. The cap for pen is 40%. The cap for cooldown is 40%. Just kind of keep that in the back of your head. Oh, the one thing is Obshard overcaps your pen. And then lastly, because Paul builds it or used to build it all the time, he doesn't really build it as much anymore. But if you're getting fully dove by both physicals and magicals on the enemy side, Mantle of Discord is always going to be sick. That CC immunity you get can sometimes be a big difference between life and death. But yeah, those are your two biggest defense options. But yeah, there it is. I hope you guys enjoyed the video talking about mage builds. If you guys have any questions, drop them down below. If you guys like this type of video, I'll be trying to do them a little bit more to give you guys build insight to every single role because I put a lot of support content out. So putting some other stuff towards other roles where maybe I think is a little missed on. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll see you guys again next time. Peace.